Emma had always been cautious with online dating. She stuck to public places for the first few dates and always shared her location with a friend. When she matched with Lucas on Tinder, which is a dating app, he seemed perfect, charming, funny, and attentive. After 2 coffee dates and a walk in the park, she felt safe enough to accept his invitation to his place for a home-cooked dinner. His apartment was cozy, decorated with warm lights and a bookshelf full of novels she admired. He poured her a glass of wine, and they chatted effortlessly. But as the evening progressed, Emma started to feel strange. Her limbs grew heavy, her vision blurred, and an eerie drowsiness set in. Her instincts screamed at her. She'd felt this way before, years ago, when someone had spiked her drink at a college party. Knowing she has only a few moments before she lost control, she forced a bright smile and excused herself to the bathroom. Locking the door, she fumbled for her phone, her fingers sluggish and uncooperative. She barely managed to text her friend, "Call 911, Lucas drugged me. Send help." Before she could send her location, the phone slipped from her hands. Outside, she heard Lucas pacing, then a soft knock. "Emma, you okay?" She didn't answer. Her breathing was labored, her head spinning. The door handle jiggled, then silence. Suddenly she heard something, soft scraping, like a chair being dragged across the floor. A clinking sound followed, metal against metal. The air in the small bathroom grew thick with dread. What was he doing out there? Then came a whisper just outside the door. "You should have just let it happen." Emma's pulse pounded in her ears. She pressed herself against the cold tiles, her body refusing to move properly. Then, sirens. The distant wail sent a rush of relief through her sluggish mind. Heavy pounding shock at the apartment door. "Police, open up!" Lucas cursed. A moment later, the front door was kicked in. Emma's strength gave out, and she slumped to the floor as voices called out. She barely registered the officers bursting in, pulling her out. As she drifted in and out of consciousness, she felt something being placed over her head, dark fabric enveloping her world. Later, at the hospital, she asked about it. One of the officers hesitated before answering. "We didn't want you to see what was in the living room." A sickening chill coiled around her spine. "What was in the living room?" He exhaled sharply, looking away. A table, restraints, plastic sheets. Emma's blood ran cold. She had been minutes away from never leaving that apartment. In the weeks that followed, Emma struggled to sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Lucas's apartment, heard his whisper outside the bathroom door. The police confirmed that he had a history. Several women had vanished after meeting him, their disappearances still unsolved. Emma's case made the news. People called her lucky, a survivor. But every time she looked at her phone, she saw the unsent message, her incomplete cry for help. "Call 911. Lucas drugged me. Send he..." Her therapist told her healing would take time, but Emma wasn't sure she'd ever feel safe again. She had come so close to becoming another missing person, another cold case. And somewhere out there, she knew there were more like Lucas, waiting. Months passed, and Emma tried to reclaim her life. She moved to a new apartment, changed her number, and deleted every dating app from her phone. But the fear never left her. The world no longer felt safe. The trauma got stuck in her head, and every time she had to visit the hospital, she was told by her therapist that healing was a gradual process for her. One evening, as she sat in her dimly lit living room, her phone vibrated with an unknown number. Her heart pounded. Against her better judgment, she answered. A familiar voice whispered, "You should have just let it happen." Then the line went dead. Emma's scream echoed in the empty room and called the police. The police launched an investigation, tracing the call, but it led to an unregistered number. Lucas was still in custody, but that didn't ease Emma's terror. Was it someone working with him? A copycat? Or had he somehow found a way to reach her? Determined to protect herself, Emma enrolled in self-defense classes and bought a home security system. Every night, she double-checked her locks, jumping at every creak of the floorboards. Then, the messages started. Anonymous texts. Photos of her walking home from work. One night, she found a single red rose on her doorstep. The police increased surveillance, but whoever it was, they were careful, never leaving behind evidence. One night, she heard a noise outside her window. She grabbed the bat she kept by her bed and crept toward the noise. The curtains shifted slightly, revealing a dark silhouette just beyond the glass. Emma refused to be a victim again. She clenched the bat tightly and flung the window open, swinging at the figure. A startled cry. A body hit the ground. Heart hammering. She flicked on the porch light. A man lay sprawled in the dirt, groaning in pain. But it wasn't Lucas. It was someone new, and he was smiling. The police arrived within minutes, taking the man into custody. They ran his fingerprints and confirmed he had no known connection to Lucas. But Emma knew better. This wasn't random. As they dragged him away, he looked up at her, his grin unwavering. "You'll never be safe." Emma slammed the door and locked every bolt. She pressed her back against the wall, breathing heavily. She had survived once. She would survive again. But deep inside, she knew. Lucas might be behind bars, but the nightmare wasn't over. It was only just beginning, and she was ready to fight for her survival.